Hello.
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 Hi there.
Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Football Times podcast with myself, RadioTimes.com sport editor Michael Potts, and staring longingly into my eyes, it's Mr. Jake Wilson from BBC Match of the Day magazine. How are you doing, sir?
What is happening, Michael? I'm very good. Very excited to be back. It's been a little while.
Yeah, I was going to say it must be pre-Christmas since
It
you were last on.
was indeed a proper hot minute.
We've put up with the rest of them, but now we're back to the big leagues.
The
here.
main event, yeah.
We'll be bringing you all the previews for this weekend's Premier League football on TV, and let's just get diving straight into it. Saturday, 1st of February, 12:30 kickoff. BT Sport 1. We have Leicester versus Chelsea. We'll start with Leicester. I feel like they've got to react well here. It's a bit of a tetchy time for Leicester at the moment. Run out of steam after Christmas. Vardy injury and Didi injury. Both players look like they are back in the team. But that defeat to Villa, I don't know if you watched it last night, but that defeat could just knock a little bit of stuffing out of them.
It could indeed. They've not been in the greatest of form, but, you know, it hasn't been reflected in the league table that overly. They're still third. They're 8 points clear of their opponents, down in fourth this week. And, you know, still got 14 over the chasing pack, United, Spurs and Wolverhampton Wanderers. So even though they haven't exactly been the Leicester we saw at the beginning of the season, Rodgers isn't going to be too scared. They definitely could have beaten Villa with the chances they had. Villa took theirs.
They were the better team, weren't they, over the two legs? I know that means nothing now, but going ahead in terms of the Premier League, the fact that they're still playing all right,
definitely. I think getting Champions League football over losing to Manchester City inevitably in the League Cup final.
You'd take that.
I think they'd have that.
Well, that's a cynical way to look at it. Wow.
Well, I feel like it is.
True.
We'll get to City, but
yeah, absolutely. A bit again. Just Kelechi stepped in for Vardy and done quite well, to be fair. So I think people who are saying Vardy's out the team, that's why they've lost a bit of steam or not quite scoring. Multiple goals per game. I think Kelechi and Perez still doing well. I'm a bit disappointed with Tielemans.
Yeah, I think they expect a bit more from him.
Yeah, and Maddison, for as good as a player he is, I thought he was excellent at times last night, and then just faded in the second half maybe. But I think they need those two back to their top level.
Definitely. I want to give a shout out to Harvey Barnes though, because that boy is making an impact every time I see him.
Yeah.
Got the assist last night, and he looks like to be a right player. He did at West Brom last year, and he might be really hitting some form at a good time for Leicester.
Yeah, I'd also like to put it out there, right? Leicester, one-man team, not Jamie Vardy.
Ooh.
And Didi is absolutely phenomenal. And again, the fact that I don't think it's any coincidence that the games that he's missed, they've actually struggled in. And I wonder whether, he's been brought back very quick. He said he was out for 3 or 4 weeks and he was back after 2. And I just wonder whether, is he at full steam yet?
That might have been yesterday. Might have been like a tune-up game for him. Get his feet back before this one, which is very large.
Yeah, absolutely. Straight away into the deep end, we'll say, for Ndidi against Chelsea. Chelsea, they're so predictably unpredictable. Like, they're going to score, they're going to concede, and they'll just hope the numbers fall in their favour. There seems to be no logic or pattern to Chelsea this season.
It is rolling a dice, isn't it? It's wins, losses and draws just across the board, but non-consecutively.
What is it? Like, what is it about them? I just can't put my finger on what's going wrong with them.
No, me neither. I think they've definitely got a system they want to play. They just don't seem to be able to impose it on every team. Some weeks, they'll go out, outscore the opposition, win 3-0 as they did recently, and then other times like really struggle to get a glove on teams against Arsenal a couple of weeks ago, the 2-2. When Arsenal had 11 men, they looked really good and looked in control of the game. And then for like the back hour, they just looked terrible, created nothing. And Arsenal, really put a good account of themselves.
They do just seem to run out of ideas, don't they? I know that's like such a cliche that's thrown around, but they do, like you say there, they have that intense half an hour. And if they don't score in that window when the pressure's on and they're flying forward and fully confident, they just seem to lose that head of steam. I saw it against Crystal Palace like ages ago in the season, and they eventually won that game. but it took them so long to break it down. They looked so flat for a lot of the game. It's just strange how it works.
It is a very strange one. And I think they are lacking players off the bench. You know, Lampard's been quite vocal. He wants some forwards, like Pedro's not there. Giroud's not there for him. They're both kind of on the way out and not the players they used to be. And maybe he's looking for someone, you know, especially in Pulisic's absence.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw a thing about Tammy could be forced. It said he could be forced to play again through injury, through the pain. And it's just like, that's insane how a multi-million-pound business can. I know they had the transfer embargo, but
still,
it's got to this point where another English forward as well, by the way. So you know, like, surely people have learnt lessons from overworking the likes of Owen, Rooney, definitely. Now Kane, Rashford playing with bones flying around in his ankle. Oof. Like Abraham is the next one. Their hopes for the season are pinned on the ankles of a 22-year-old lad, and I just think that how. It's mad football, isn't it, really, if you break it down to that level? And
Lampard just obviously does not have any trust whatsoever in Batshuayi, which is sad because we had high hopes for him. But
hey, he's good on Twitter.
That's all that matters. Get
essentially,
him in the
that's
team.
what matters. Big run for Lampard. They've got Leicester away, Man United at home, Tottenham at home, Bayern Munich at home. Need some points out of those, otherwise it could be very tough, or a lot of pressure going into the next run of games after that. Bournemouth, Everton, Villa, which are sort of games they all need to win. Prediction for this one? I'm
going to say it again, my motto: never trust the early kickoff. You can't do it. So I'm going 2-0 Chelsea.
Yeah, interesting. I'm going with just a 7-7 draw or something.
7-7 draw?
No, let's just go for a draw.
Okay,
cannot guarantee any 14 goal hauls. Moving swiftly on to Saturday evening, it's a 5:30 kickoff on Sky Sports Premier League and main event. It's Manchester United versus Wolverhampton. I always wondered when I was going through the previews, and I was sort of like, Wolves are on. Wolves are on. That's why I've got Jake Wilson.
Back.
Yeah, there he is.
I'm going to pause you right here because I listened to the podcast last week, and you did a big call, mate. You tipped Wolves for the top 4.
What can I say? That's
a round of applause.
We'll start with Wolves then. We'll start with Wolves. I was going to say, I really want to provoke a bit of rage when people come on and like have a, you know, like have a bit of a go at Newcastle when Ketch is on, and Shrewsbury when Paz is on. Not, you know,
having a go at
really
Shrewsbury.
Have much of a go at Shrewsbury. After all, they are just Shrewsbury. But yeah, I can't really do it with Wolves because I really like watching Wolves.
Same. It's great, isn't it? What a time to be alive. What a world we live in. Nuno's world. We're just a part of it.
Wow. Any actual insight for us, or just more love letters to Nuno?
No, just Nuno, if you're out there, mate, mad respect.
Wow.
No, we're a really, really good side, as everyone knows now. I am a little bit concerned, though, because I think Nuno will be concerned also. Our transfer business has been quiet. We signed Enzo Lloydice this morning. That's not how you pronounce it, but I tried. But he's going into our under-23s. At time of recording, we haven't got Daniel Podence from Olympiacos, another Portuguese winger, to fit in with the other 7 Portuguese players we have. But he's on the cusp of signing, which would be big for Wolves, because then we've got someone off the bench who can come and take the load off of Jimenez or Traore. But we haven't got that striker, and the links don't seem to be there either. So I am a little worried on that front. Our squad isn't the largest. Fatigue may play in now. Yeah. And I think it has over the last, month or so. Last 5 games.
Not something won 1. When Traore's been, obviously he's in top 4 at the moment, playing wise, and it was an interesting bit of a note where they say he'll explode into life, and he'll pull out a few sprints, and he'll go all action for a couple of minutes. Then he has to take a bit of a breather, and I quite like that sort of idea of this like a solar charge to Adama Traore, like where he just needs that moment to just fill the tank back up, go again, 100%. Fill the tank back up, go again. Always thought he was a bit of a tragic footballer, to be fair. I thought he was honestly. I always thought he was the most the epitome of that, get to the final third.
Agreed.
And just hit the wall, and Walcott, Lennon, Traore. For me, Traore is probably the king of it. Now he's still so young, and he's put, he's actually harnessing this talent and strength into a final ball. What a player.
Oh, unbelievably so. We've said it as Wolves fans on a lot of players' behalfs. A year under Nuno is a big year. it took Dendoncker quite a while to fit in, and took him 6 months before Nuno started playing him. And I think the same's been really good for Traoré. I think he slowed right down. There was a goal he scored, he set up, for Jimenez the other day, where he looked clean on goal out wide, and he just cantered up to the ball, turned with it, slipped Jimenez in, and it was a goal. And it was such a brilliant example of him not going at full speed. You never really see him hit top speed because he's been told not to, because then he can actually have the ball when he's running.
It's those moments of acceleration, isn't it? Like, you just want that zip to beat a man without needing to, you're not doing a 100-metre sprint, mate.
Exactly.
Like,
and then make sure you got the ball to do something with it, which
absolutely.
My word, he is.
Fair play. And he has the chance to demonstrate his talents in front of Ed Woodward, probably. there's the £500 million bid against Manchester United at Old Trafford this Saturday. Man United, can you take any confidence from that Tranmere win?
No. No disrespect to Tranmere at all. But Man United have had full storm after full storm after full storm. And yes, Jesse Lingard scored in 2020.
It's happened.
It happened.
Man on fire.
But no, I don't think that's the one that we're going to look to. 2 wins in 5 in the Prem. I think that tells the story.
I think this is one where we need to ask a pro about this, because I just feel like you've got to take something out of that. Something. A 6-0 hammering, even though it's against far weaker opposition. Just being able to do that in front of an albeit smaller stadium full of people, turning up, just beating the opponents that are in front of you.
Yeah, you did the job, didn't you?
I just feel like they've done that job as best they possibly could, and that they've got to take something out of that. But as we've seen with United, like you say, full storm. But
there was a lot of first-team players in there, so hopefully, like I said, that would have been a good tune-up for them.
Just anything, something to take into the next game, Mason Greenwood, would you be starting him in the Premier League?
If Rashford's not there, it's definitely a call for it. I think they might keep Martial up top and find 3 bodies to kind of put to support him.
Yeah.
They had Mata, Pereira, and James in the last Prem game. And it might be something similar to that, which is great if you're a United fan, I imagine. Not a lot to shout about there as a forward line.
Yeah, Greenwood, he's done so well when he's come off the bench and when he's played in these smaller games, cup games, etc. I just wonder what you don't want to exhaust the guy. You don't want to burn him out, as I've said there with Tammy and Kane and Rooney and etc. But just think, like, if not now, when?
Yeah,
give him a shot. Give him a shot.
At
and
home, play 2 up front, maybe.
Yeah. And this is definitely not anything to do with my fantasy Premier League team.
Oh, hello. We'll come to that.
More on that. Prediction for this one, I'm not going to really get any sort of objective response from you here, am I?
2-0 Wolves.
Yeah, of course. I'm also going Wolves.
Going Wolves. Form team.
And once you've finished basking in the glory of Wolves' victory at Old Trafford, we move on to Super Sunday. It's a 2 o'clock kickoff, Sky Sports Premier League and main event. It's Burnley versus Arsenal. Burnley doing an absolute Burnley this season.
Of course.
Loss. Oh, we might go down. Win-win. Now we're 30 points before February. Job done.
I'd pretty much, 2 on the bounce and 2 massive wins on the bounce as well. You love to see it. All without Ashley Barnes.
Yeah, Ashley Barnes sort of fallen off a bit of a cliff, really, hasn't he? He was the in thing at the start of the season, but he has been usurped by big Chris Wood.
He has. The hernia has helped. Got Jay Rodriguez in the side.
Yeah.
And they seem to always have a solution to their problems, even though they've got no squad depth. I think Sean Dyche didn't make a sub last game in that big win. And they only made 1 in the previous 2, bringing on Vidra and Aaron Lennon. Who are not players that you still necessarily recognise as Premier League talent.
Game changers.
No. Yeah. So I think he could do with some numbers, but that's going to be a summer rebuild job. But still, it's going to be well comfortable. I think 10 points over the next 4 months is impossible.
It's amazing when you look at the table now and you see teams like Burnley, Southampton, etc., who've all been, I mean, Southampton, they're in the top half now, but
flying.
You see teams like this who, just a few weeks ago, Christmas, they're in such dire trouble and everybody's slaughtering them and you've got, the Sky Sports pundits hammering them all and picking their bottom 3s. All of a sudden, like I say, you've got Burnley 30 points And it really looks like a very simple task now. 8 points or so from the next 14 games. Like, it just seems so easy to stay up. And yet, obviously, there will be teams who just aren't going to get anywhere near that 30-point mark.
No, the Prem, especially that kind of bottom, 12 maybe, it's just so congested this year, more so than maybe we've seen in the past. So, yeah, most teams will think they can get out of it. But only 17 will.
It's gonna. Thanks for explaining how the Premier League works, there, Mr. Wilson.
Yeah, tipping Liverpool to stay up this year.
We need to cut that. Moving on to Arsenal.
Yes.
Arteta stabilising things. 3 draws in a row, 4 unbeaten. I'm pretty happy with how he's doing as a complete neutral. I think we all want to see Arsenal get back in and amongst that top 4. Bit of a challenge up there. And I'm pretty happy with how things are going for them. It's
quite nice, really. And they haven't had Aubameyang last 3 games. So even though they're not winning all the time, at all, very much whatsoever, but they are doing things that create a positive feeling at the club. They're playing Saka, who's doing really well, and young players like Martinelli, and they're letting them make an impact. They're creating a kind of a different kind of emphasis.
It's a bit of a platform, isn't it? It's something to build on, even if not this season. It's something to build on.
That's what when Arteta will have gone in, they will have said, okay, this season isn't going to be the season for us, but next season, Mikel, you better have it sorted.
I'll come back to that in one moment because I still think there is something in this season.
Do you
But
now?
Martinelli, I've said his name in pretty much every podcast, I think, because I watched him in the Europa League once and think he's suddenly like the future of Brazil and Arsenal. But no, I watched him a couple of times actually, and I thought he was so good, like so sharp, and I'm so pleased to see him doing well in the Premier League as well. Do you think he could be, now that Aubameyang's back from his suspension, do you think he could still continue to start in that team? I think Lacazette, he's only got 1 assist in his last 6.
I think they're going to
no goals in that time.
Stick with Lacazette, but Pepe could be on the block. He scored again midweek, but Martinelli, he brings so much to the side. He's so energetic with the ball, and especially kind of away from home, he could be a real player that causes Burnley's back four some problems.
So it could be Lacazette through the middle.
And
then Aubameyang,
Martinelli wide, Ozil in the hole.
Interesting. I mean, if it works, my word, if it works, that's what you want.
Arsenal fans looking at that on paper will be glowing from the eyes.
He's such a hard work. I just love watching him. And that Chelsea, the long run goal.
Oh, it was lovely.
Do you rate that? Because I know a few people were just like, oh, he's just run. But for me, the composure to actually continue to run at that speed with that much time to think about it and still slot it, for me,
the finish being as composed as it was, I think was lovely. Obviously Conte falling flat on his face gave him that opportunity, but as a teenager, just give him his credit, just give him his props.
Did what he had to do. Just very briefly as well, I was talking about Champions League there with Wolves. Do Arsenal have a shot? They're not far off. Okay, they're not too far off. You've got Chelsea faltering.
Yeah.
United. Spurs need that striker maybe to prop up their cause. Wolves, they do have an off day. Just to inform you about that.
Okay.
Sheffield United maybe lack that explosiveness to get up there. Can Arsenal do this? Or am I insane right now?
I think Champions League's a step too far. The points they would have to get over Chelsea are a lot, and there's been no sign in the form that Arsenal are going to get 5, 6, 7 wins on the bounce without doing an Arsenal and losing to Sheffield United in the middle.
I just ponder these things. I'm still putting Wolves. I'm still putting Wolves in that. I mean,
it's fourth.
Don't at me, but they're sitting fourth. But Arsenal. I think they've got a good end of the season in them, and that would be amazing for Arteta. An amazing way to get off the mark as manager. Even just if it was a Europa League place.
I think Europa League is doable. It's still a long shot. I think he'll be confident if he can keep everyone safe and cosy and not wanting to leave in the summer. I think that's absolutely the bigger thing.
And Burnley and Arsenal as well. Big blow for Arsenal as David Luiz returns from suspension. Bit of a boost with Mustafi out injured. Prediction for this one?
I'm going to say Arsenal are going to sneak this one. I think Burnley have had their little bubble, and I think Arsenal 1-0.
They've done enough. They've done enough for another few weeks. I'm going with a draw for that one, I think,
Ooh, Sean Dyche's first ever point against Arsenal, that would be.
Thanks for that stat.
Yes. Sneak that one
Yes, I'm putting it out there, yes. Moving on to the final game of the weekend. No Monday Night Football this week. We have 4:30 kickoff. It's Spurs versus Manchester City. It's on Sky Sports Premier League and main event. Tottenham making a couple of big moves in the transfer market this week. Lo Celso, permanent signing. Stephen.
Good luck.
Bergwijn,
I think.
Bergwijn. However you pronounce his name, very, very good signing.
He seems it. I haven't seen a lot of him, obviously, playing for PSV, but all the signs look like he's a forward they need, dynamic, complete to the middle, but really good coming off the wing, cutting inside, curling those balls into the top bins, and in Kane's absence is going to give them so much fluidity in that forward line. It's exciting times.
Yeah, absolutely, and with Eriksen going out, it's pretty much I don't want to say a free transfer, but it's pretty much break-even deal there.
Oh, you would think so, off the books. And it's definitely Eriksen's time to go. We all know how brilliant Christian Eriksen is, and has been as a servant to Tottenham and the Premier League. And I don't think we should forget that. But it's
similar to Sanchez, though, isn't it, with Arsenal? Down tools, and you now wonder whether you can actually pick them up again. Once he gets to Inter, I'm so disappointed. I'm so disappointed because he was such a talent and he just give up. I think he just downed it.
It happens to so many players, There's been a lot of talk about Berahino again recently, not getting that move when he did a couple of years ago to Spurs, and how it changed his career. So hopefully Eriksen finds those flashes once again.
Yeah, absolutely. Still probably need that striker. I mean,
they will be looking
Son through the middle, or I'm just wondering who who they're going to stick with if they don't get a striker. But Piatek and
I don't
Giroud
think they will get a striker. I can't see the Giroud one. Piatek seems there was links with Berlin. I saw this morning that look a lot closer than here at Spurs. I think they will just try and play fluid through the middle. They haven't got loads to lose
without the focal point striker. And moving on to Manchester City, again they're in great form. It's just every minor slip is just putting red hands all over that trophy, isn't it? Really,
like you've said it on this podcast a few times now, the red hands are on that trophy. They've already etched it in. If the impossible was to happen, I think heads would explode. But that takes nothing away from Man City. They're obviously the Champions League is their focus now, and maybe a domestic cup. But I could see them, maybe not easily, but very feasibly going unbeaten in the Premier League from now on. Laporte's back. They've got the form forward in the country. Obviously, we spoke about their depth and the way they play so often. Who's going to beat them?
Not a bad shout.
Other than Liverpool.
In April to seal the title. Apart from that small thing.
Other than that game.
I wonder with, like you say there, Champions League is that's got to be their priority now. That's the biggest thing they can still win. And probably the thing at the start of the season they would have wanted to win the most out of all the competitions. Pep not exactly wanting the League Cup. But I would love to see, I was wondering whether, would they rotate their Premier League squad around a little bit? And I'd love to see Foden come into their Premier League 11, like week on week. I was looking through the games where he's got goals or assists this season. France under-21s at home, Dynamo Zagreb at home, Atlanta at home, Dynamo away, Arsenal away, when they were already 2 up and he was subbed off after an hour. Oxford at home, Port Vale at home, Fulham at home. That's the only games he's got goals and assists in. I'm not denying his quality here. He is clearly a classy youngster. But he's doing this against sides who, in respect to them, aren't what you would face in the Premier League every week. And I just think if he's the heir to this David Silva throne, you best get comfortable on it pretty quickly.
Exactly. I think players around his age and his type usually have a loan move in them. Spend some time in the Championship or a Premier League kind of lower team and get those minutes under their belt. Pep hasn't been able to give him those Premier League minutes because every point is so important when they're challenging. Hopefully, when it, in maybe March, April, when it looks like Liverpool can't lose the title mathematically, hopefully he does just play him because they are going to get second. No one's going to catch City. And hopefully that's the time they give him his big chance.
Yeah,
really.
It'll be interesting once the Champions League comes around very soon to see how much action Foden does actually see. Prediction for this one: Spurs, Man City.
Can't see past City. I think a 2-1 would be nice and tasty.
2-1. I'm going with a draw. I feel like Mourinho's going to Mourinho this one.
Oh God, Mourinho.
No,
yeah.
like a masterclass Mourinho.
He likes Mourinhoing things.
Moving on swiftly to just a little bit. It's obviously transfer deadline day coming up very soon.
Around the corner.
Bruno Fernandes looks like he's going to United.
He does.
Potentially could be done by the time you listen to this. Who's done well in this transfer window? We were looking. There hasn't really been too many transfers, but
no. What I'm going to say,
particularly
this
impressed?
isn't the easy answer, but I think the teams that haven't spent any money have done the best.
Yeah,
I read a lot on the January window. One of the stats is 55% of strikers signed in January in the big 5 leagues don't score a league goal that season for their club.
Serious.
55%.
Oh.
So, good luck, new Aston Villa signing, Umbuena Ali Samata.
I was going to say, he had that horror miss didn't he,
was
against Leicester, and I
horrible.
was like, that's his career done.
So is he in the 55%? Maybe. And that's such a big stat for the money people pay in January.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Similar thoughts, actually. I got who's done well, and I put Bournemouth pretty much in there, purely because they've realised they're incapable of making good signings, so they're just not going to.
They haven't
you know what,
signed
lads?
Jordan Shaqiri for £50 million.
Yeah,
like,
we
well
can't-
done, Eddie Howe.
We can't do anything, so we might as well just not.
Definitely.
And then they've accepted that they are useless at buying players. Spurs doing well. Newcastle bought in a couple of players.
Definitely. I think Tosin at
Bentaleb,
Palace is a
Lazaro.
really good signing.
Yeah, it's a decent shout as well.
Because he obviously came in a lot of money at Everton, and he's built for that side. So I think
And
that's
remember, no matter how well Sheffield United do this season, and no matter how well Chris Wilder does, they signed Jack Rodwell in January.
yes, they did.
Moving swiftly on. And to round off, Fantasy Premier League tips. Who are you going for this week?
If you can get Aguero, any way, shape or form, you've got to get Aguero.
Thanks
I know,
for that hipster tip there.
I know
Sign
Pep,
Aguero.
I know Pep rotates, but that boy is just going to score every minute he plays in his head or on the pitch.
Warning, may not actually score every minute he plays on.
Asterix, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, Mane's maybe on the treatment table. Seems like it now. I think I'm going to stick with him. He'll be back soon.
Because I'm sticking with Mane.
Yeah.
That was pretty much my top tip, I think, of the week. Stick with Mane. The amount I think it would cost like $1 million to pretty much bring him back in. And for the sake of 2 games, I think it's not nice putting a big player on the bench, but you're going to bring off like a Sheffield United defender or a Palace defender or something from the bench. They could easily get you 6 points, and that saves you a lot of hassle. Also going Martinelli, 4.5 million. It's just a shout, isn't it? I haven't got the transfers left to do it because I brought in Raul and Adama this week for Tammy and Doucouré.
They're good. That's good
but
choice.
Martinelli, 4.5. Even just on the bench if he doesn't play every week.
Yeah, and on that as well, I'm going to say Chris Wood, because no Ashley Barnes, he's been scoring loads, and after Arsenal, Burnley have got Southampton, Bournemouth and Newcastle.
Fair.
There's goals in there for him. 6.2 mil for a striker. Like it.
That's a nice sound. What's in Match of the Day magazine this week?
Loads are in Match of the Day magazine this week. It's our deadline day transfers special. Everything you need to know about the January window, all the big moves that we didn't talk about just are in there, as well as the chance to win England tickets. Very tasty. The England are coming back round again. And exclusive chat with Crystal Palace keeper Vicente Guaita.
Nice one.
Very nice.
Rogue. I like that. Once upon a time, England tickets would have been a curse, not a gift. But
nowadays,
seize them.
Jadon Sancho tearing it up at Wembley. I'm in.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed. Thank you very much for joining me today, Mr. Wilson. We look forward to seeing you again. Thank you very much for listening. And as ever, radiotimes.com/sport has all of the sporting previews for everything coming up this week and beyond. We've got Premier League fixtures and we have the Super Bowl this weekend. So if that's your thing, come and have a look. Cheers. Thanks for listening.